Deuteronomy chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib by celebrating the Passover to God, your God. It was in the month of Abib that God, your God, delivered you by night from Egypt. Offer the Passover sacrifice to God, your God, at the place God chooses to be worshipped by establishing his name there. Don't eat yeast, bread with it. For 7 days, eat it with unraised bread, hard times bread, because you left Egypt in a hurry. That bread will keep the memory fresh of how you left Egypt for as long as you live. There is to be no sign of yeast anywhere for 7 days, and don't let any of the meat that you sacrifice in the evening be left until morning. Don't sacrifice the Passover in any of the towns that God, your God, gives you other than the one God, your God, designates for worship. There and there only you will offer the Passover sacrifice at evening as the sun goes down, marking the time that you left Egypt. Boil and eat it at the place designated by God, your God. Then at daybreak, turn around and go home. Eat unraised bread for 6 days. Set aside the 7th day as a holiday. Don't do any work. Starting from the day you put the sickle to the ripe grain, count out 7 weeks. Celebrate the Feast of Weeks to God, your God, by bringing your freewill-offering. Give as generously as God, your God, has blessed you. Rejoice in the presence of God, your God. You, your son, your daughter, your servant, your maid, the Levite who lives in your neighborhood, the foreigner, the orphan and widow among you. Rejoice at that place God, your God, will set aside to be worshipped. Don't forget that you were once a slave in Egypt, so be diligent in observing these regulations. Observe the Feast of Booths for 7 days when you gather the harvest from the threshing-floor and your wine-vat. Rejoice at your festival, you, your son, your daughter, your servants, your maid, the Levite, the foreigner, and the orphan and widows who live in your neighborhood. Celebrate the feast to God, your God, for 7 days at the place God designates. God, your God, has been blessing you in the harvest and in all your work. So make a day of it. Really celebrate. All your men must appear before God, your God, 3 times each year at the place he designates. At the Feast of Unraised Bread, Passover, at the Feast of Weeks, and at the Feast of Booths. No one is to show up in the presence of God empty-handed. Each man must bring as much as he can manage. Give generously in response to the blessings of God, your God. Appoint judges and officers, organized by tribes, in all the towns that God, your God, is giving you. They are to judge the people fairly and honestly. Don't twist the law. Don't play favorites. Don't take bribes. A bribe blinds even a wise person. It determines the intentions of the best of people. The right. Pursue only what's right. It's the only way you can really live and possess the land that God, your God, is giving you. Don't plant fertility Asherah trees alongside the altar of God, your God, that you build. Don't set up phallic sex pillars. God, your God, hates them.